Our guest today is Marianna Lead. She is an ICF certified master coach, ICF coach mentor, and educator. She is the founder and executive director of Goal Imagery Institute, an online ICF accredited coach training program, which was cited as one of the top coaching programs in the US by Positive Psychology magazine. She is also the author of Me, My Brand, and Why. In this episode of Thriving Changes, Mariana talks about her entrepreneurial journey and, as an immigrant, being comfortable in her own identity. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I did. Hi, Mariana. Welcome to Thriving Changes. It is such a pleasure to have you. Thank you for taking out the time to do this podcast. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Well, thank you, Rena. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Looking forward to our little talk today.
Yes, I'm excited throughout your journey, your career, how it has grown and where it has taken you. I'm really excited to talk and learn more about it. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and currently where you are.
I own an online coach training school. It's an international school. We offer all levels of certification through ICF, which is International Coaching Federation. I've been with International Coaching Federation since 2002. First, I was on board of directors at New York City chapter of International Coaching Federation, and I served for 7 years. And the last 2 years, I was the president of that chapter. I also taught coaching skills at both certification level and at their master's degree program at New York University for quite a few years. And then I opened up my own school. And at that point, all of my extracurricular activities stopped because I had to pay attention to developing my school and teaching at my school versus teaching for someone else. And I'm really proud to say that we are truly international. We have students from all over the world. And not only we teach in English language, we also teach in other languages that I myself do not speak. Some I do, some I don't. An amazing team of teachers. And all of our teachers, of course, are our alumni. They completed all of our levels and they're really attentive to students and they're all masterful coaches. And our alumni, I'm just so humbled by them. I look at their profiles on LinkedIn and I know who they are, and it's so impressive. We attract really top quality and we provide quality. And so this is all I'm focused on. My day is focused on creating new courses, speaking to prospective students, responding to current students, doing alumni workshops. We do a lot for our alumni. And I also still have clients, of course. I'm also an official ICF assessor, which means that people who apply for ICF credentialing through Portfolio Path may end up on my table because I've been doing it since 2006 and I do it at all levels. So I was doing it at 2006 before I became an MCC. In 2008, I became an MCC, and that's when I started doing also MCC level applications. And till today, I do all of them, ACC, PCC, MCC, and I enjoy doing them. I enjoy giving back a little bit.
You're based in America, right? You're in
Yes.
the US.
Yes, the company is in New York, and I am personally in New York for 40 years at this point.
Okay, all right. And your institute is called the Goal Imagery Institute.
Yes, Gold Imagery Institute. And at the beginning of this year, we actually gave it one more name, which is the Gold Imagery Coaching Academy, because most of our courses are focused on coaching, even though some are focused on personal development.
Okay. So if they Google either, if anybody is interested in finding more, either name will work.
Exactly.
Okay. So you're a first generation immigrant.
True.
And what is your country of origin?
Ukraine.
Ukraine. Okay. How did you get into coaching? How did you work through that?
I moved from Kiev to New York in 1979. So by 2002, I already spoke English pretty fluently. And New York was already home at that point. I was already there for a significant number of years. I didn't join coaching sooner just because it wasn't available. I wasn't aware that it existed. ICF Coaching Federation was founded in 1995. And when I joined, just the second president came in of New York City. So basically, the chapter was like 2 years old when I joined the organization. So everything was pretty much in the stages of startups, really beginning stages. And I was excited to find out about it because I was always drawn to psychology. But back then, positive psychology didn't exist either.
Yeah.
And what was putting me off and why I didn't want to enroll into a complete study of psychology is because it was all about how to cure people who needed a significant amount of help, people who weren't able to be sufficient in society, right? So it's all about curing disease, especially the studying of it, even though we all know that psychologists work with quote unquote normal people for personal development as well. But when you're studying psychology, the focus is on treating illness. And that was the turnoff point, and that's why I didn't want to enroll in the study for like anywhere from 4 to 10 years studying, to me anyway, depressing things. And when I got into coaching, it really opened a very different perspective. It really opened perspective that, and positive psychology as well, right? That first of all, there's a way to learn to be happy. It's a learned thing. There are things that you can do to keep yourself motivated and to keep yourself in a positive frame of mind. And coaching is something that focuses on working with whole, creative, and resourceful people. As a matter of fact, if I'm meeting someone and they are curious about my services, but if I don't view that person as whole, creative, and resourceful, then I can't work with them, because that's literally against the definition of how I'm supposed to be viewing the client in order to partner with them on whatever they want to accomplish.
Yeah. So, how did your career journey start? When you migrated, did you drive straight into coaching, or you mentioned you were teaching for a while at New York University? How was that navigation?
I came here in 1979, and I had all kinds of different professions. I was in real estate, I was selling insurance, but whatever I was doing had to do with communicating with other people. And I became relatively successful. Then personal stuff happened, and I was led to coaching in a very interesting way.
Yeah.
And that happened in 2002. So in 2002, when I got into NYU, I was already on the board of directors. So
Okay.
I was already in the coaching field. I was already there. And being on the board of directors, we wanted to bring new initiatives. And I'm a new initiative person. I'm a very creative person. When I was the president, we increased the membership twofold. So I was thinking of all kinds of things to grow membership, to create interesting things. And one of the things that we thought of with my genius vice president, Nancy Ankowitz, by the way, she came out with a really great book. She wrote a book a few years ago about introverts. Anyhow, her and me, we really thought about promoting coaching and bringing it more mainstream. And one of the thoughts was, let's go to respectable, large educational organizations that already have credibility, already have mainstream respect, and let's do something with them. And so we brought the idea of doing a panel of MCC, stands for Masterful Certified Coach by ICF standards. And we went to the director of NYU and talked about that and made it happen. One thing turns into another, and you create relationships and people get to know you, and coaching, things evolve. And that's exactly what happened.
While teaching at New York, you decided to transition into starting your own institute. And so, what prompted that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Every single time you ask me a question, it's a long story.
That's okay. That's what we want to learn. That's your journey so that somebody can be inspired and normalize it, that these are part of growing.
I'd like to share actually with anyone and everyone who comes from a different country. I know you can relate to that as well. Both of us
Mhm.
have accents. We have different accents, but we both have them because it's part of our identity, right? So it's like you can't leave home, but you bring part of it with you everywhere you go. And so what I want to share actually, and because you're speaking about inspiring others, is people who come here from other places. I think we have the energy and we have the appreciation that maybe some people take things for granted who are born here. And I think we come with the ideas that may have not been implemented here because we see things from different perspective. And the things that are amazing here are very attractive, but also some things maybe we can contribute that are just not available yet. I come from a place where education is really important and free. And I come from a place where it's important to have a comprehensive knowledge versus partial knowledge. That's one part of it. The other part of it, I've been teaching since I was 18, and I'm just a natural born teacher. And I think that a lot of people, not necessarily immigrants, but a lot of people can relate to the fact that you just hungry for knowledge. You just want to learn everything there is to learn. And even in the States, actually, if you look at the higher education, then you will see a really healthy pattern of first teaching everything and then offering specialization. For instance, in HR, first people become generalists, and then they can pick if they're going to focus on benefits or some other things, right? Because there are a lot of different things in HR. Same thing in medicine. You become first just a general doctor, but then if you want to become a specialist in any area, then that's next level. And I just looked around and I literally just want to learn everything. I don't like and I don't understand the reasoning behind having to choose a niche or an approach, philosophy, especially for people who are just starting out and they don't even know exactly what coaching is. They heard about it, they're curious about it, maybe they even experienced it, maybe they have a feel for it, but they don't know their place in that industry as a professional. They're not in a place yet to really choose their niche. That's one part of it. The other part of it is that even if you do have a niche, those who actually do know what type of person they would like to coach and they have a niche, let's say, realistically speaking, when a coach has a client and the trust is established, the client is going to sooner or later start want to talk about anything and everything that's coming up for them. And so unless the coach is okay referring that client to other coaches, which really not great business, it's really important to become flexible and to be okay to talk about what your client wants to talk about versus a narrow focus of your expertise. Right now in the coaching field, it's a little more expanded than it used to be back in 2002. But even today, there isn't a school that offers fully comprehensive training from the very beginning, like in their foundational course. And so I saw that there was a gap, that it wasn't offered. And I decided that if no one does it, then I have to. I just don't think that any of us who comes from overseas should be intimidated, because American culture could be quite intimidating and you may expect to hear, who do you think you are? Well, ignore that because it really boils down to human nature. And it's true no matter where you're from, where you live, whatever your dreams are. If you have a good idea and if you have a
Yeah.
credibility and an education to be able to implement it, then just go for it. I think it's just about commitment to yourself and to your own ideas. And yeah, it's good to listen to other opinions, but take it in and then still make your own choice. And of course, everything that I'm saying, it takes courage. This wasn't my first business here in the United States, but I remember my very first business, because I have an acting background, was actually teaching acting skills. And I remember that I said to myself, I'm going to just open up a class. I'm just going to open up an acting class. And at that point, I was already part of a Screen Actors Guild. And I'm like, what's stopping me really? And then I went to 8th Avenue and 44th Street, which is like a theater row. And I just rented a theater. And it was really difficult. I didn't make any money, by the way. I didn't make any money. It was extremely prestigious. But of course, there was a lot of fear that I'm going to just not be able to make the rent. But I made it. And I think there's something about investing in yourself. I didn't make any money, but I learned so much about running your own business, about trusting yourself, about doing things in a big way and following through with your destiny. Because I knew that I was destined to teach, and not to teach necessarily for an institution that tells me how to do it, but to do it my way, organize things on my way. Most educational facilities, they definitely underpaid teachers, all of them. They expect things that are just not reasonable. For instance, I had 42 people in my class at NYU. Considering that those are coaching skills, you tell me, how is it possible to really provide personal and high quality education when you have that many people in class, right? Of course, people still
Yeah.
learn. And NYU is a very prestigious institution and all of that. And yet, right? And so I wanted to do it differently. For instance, in our classes, we have 10 people in class. That's it. Because money isn't everything. I have nothing against it. It's really nice to make money, and I'm running it as a business as well. But I think that your name follows you. And so I think that if you're sincere in wanting something to happen, and not just because it's going to make you money, but because there is something else, something deeper, that there's a higher purpose to it, and you stick to it, it's just going to happen eventually. And then when you get there, it's important not to lose the sight of why you did it in the first place.
I think that's so important. Reflecting back on what you were saying, that you may have started the acting business, and as you say, you made the rent, but not too much money out of it, but you learned. That was also training ground for you. We learn from our mistakes. It's what we do with it matters. That doesn't define us. It's how we shift it, how we make changes and do it differently. Now we know that this doesn't work, so the next time round, you try something different, and it worked. I think nothing that you ever do in life is a waste. Somewhere there's a learning to it. You did mention fear about not making the rent. So when you started the Goal Imagery Institute, did you have any apprehensions or fears at that point of time, or you were very confident?
Every normal person has fears. Like, I'm a human being, right? So I think that it's important to realize that we're all going to be afraid of something that's new, we haven't done before. But there's such thing as a calculated risk. So I would
Yeah.
never suggest to anyone to just kind of invest everything that they own. And don't worry if you don't have any money left on food and rent. Just do it anyway. That's not realistic, and it's dangerous, because you do need to have enough finances to take care of yourself and whoever depends on you. And I'm a single mom on top of everything else. So I never wanted to just throw away money. And I was very frugal, especially in the early days. And I think that it's really important to calculate and think what you're going to do and plan and budget and be a grown up about all of that.
Yeah.
And I was studying things at the same time as I was doing something else, and something else was bringing me money. I rented the theater, right? But at the same time, I was selling houses and apartments during the day. I was doing other things to make sure that I had what I needed. And I knew how many students in the acting class I needed in order to at least cover my expenses.
Hmm.
And I was pretty confident that I was going to be able to do that. And I did. I just didn't make a lot more than that. But it really gave me an amazing learning platform. I had a
That's
lot of
absolutely.
fun doing it. I think that the most valuable thing that we have on this earth is time. And I don't think that young people appreciate it enough, because anything else you can restore, but you can't get any of your time back. And so if you're spending time passionately, and if you feel involved and if you feel present, like, then what's more important for you? Like, you're literally creating your life and memories that you can savor.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so true. I know that you've authored a book as well, Me, My Brand, and Why. Tell us a little bit about the book. What's it about?
It's another story. Thank you for asking. So I'm a rebel for sure. I'm a rebel at heart. I like creating change. I like rocking the boat a little bit. I think it's healthy. And so I got really annoyed at some point that all of the marketers were telling all of the coaches that unless they have a niche, they're not going to be able to make it in the business. And I heard it over and over again. And my perspective is, of course, you have to have a focus. If you market something, you can't market everything because no one is going to be able to understand what it is exactly that you're offering. But it doesn't define who I am. So there is a difference from having a project and marketing a project. Let's say I have a weight loss program and I'm offering coaching alongside that program. That's a project, right? I don't have to say I'm a weight loss coach. I'm an ICF coach. I'm an accredited coach. I can coach anything, anyone on any topic. But this is a project that I choose to do. And maybe I'll do it for the rest of my life. But if not, I can add more projects. I can change projects. It doesn't define me as a professional. And that's the thing that really got under my skin, that I didn't want it to be an identifier of who I was as a professional. And when you talk about niche, that's what it serves as. It's a professional identifier. It's like a branding thing, but it's not a branding thing anymore because there are so many coaches in every single niche that it's not something that's going to stand you apart. It's actually going to make you just like them. So speaking about personal brand, I think that it's just so important to understand who you are and what your voice is. And there's so many books about how to create motivation, how to define your purpose, and then a lot of books about how to understand your personality, who you are, what you like, what you don't like. But there's not one book, there isn't one author that put it together. And
Hmm.
personally, me, I read a book by Simon, Start With Why, and I
Yeah.
tried to actually put it together, and I couldn't. I couldn't come up with my why because the road to creating your why starts with who you are.
Right.
And what I did, it wasn't just me. I wrote it with another MCC. When we started writing it, she was PCC. It just took so long to actually finish it. She's an MCC now. She went through my mentoring. And she's in Canada, and we wrote the book literally from two different countries on the phone. We never met until the book was done, which is very interesting way
To
to come
write a
up.
book.
Right, right. And she felt the same way. She's just as much of a rebel as I am, and we had a lot of synergy together and had a lot of fun writing the book. We created a system. This is a workbook that you can follow with exercises for anyone who wants to create their personal brand. So it's not just like an enlightening book about personal brand and what it is and marketing. No, this is a really deep coaching guide that's going to help you make important decisions. It's going to help you to understand what your passion is and then to connect all of that to whatever product and service that you want to offer. There's a system, it's a very systematic view supported by exercises that are very personal and individual.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I would love to read it. So that's definitely on my list now. And I'll be checking it out today because you make a great point that your why definitely begins with who you are. That connection between who you are, what experiences you had, and why you're driven about something. That makes complete sense.
Maureen, my co-author, and I, we worked with lots of people and did workshops to really see how to understand and to see what kind of questions come up and what reactions people have. And one thing that I find almost humorous is that when people were coming up with their why, with their message, they would start doubting themselves and they would start saying, this is going to eliminate other groups, like many groups. What do these people are going to think? All of this kind of, all
Mm.
these self-doubts. And I always say the brand means that it's going to be attractive to some and not to others. That's how you actually stand out. You're not supposed to be liked by everyone. And
Yeah,
so I think this is the concept that is hard to digest because I think our human nature, that we want to be liked by everyone. you
right.
know,
And that's not possible. What's next for you? Is there something that you're planning?
What's next for me? I'm creating systems in my business so that the business doesn't run me, but I run it. I am thinking about leaving a legacy. My partner in business now, my daughter, she's also an MCC and also ICF assessor. Her name is Alexis Duccio, and I'm planning to leave business to her in a few years. I'm looking at creating really healthy systems so that the business can be sustainable and would develop consistently. But meanwhile, I'm enjoying creating new courses. We just created a new course on team coaching because I've created pretty recently an advanced certification for team coaches. And we have that coming up. We already had one batch done, and we're going to be starting the second batch in April. I'm talking to a lot of prospective students. I like meeting them on Zoom. I like seeing who are going to be my potential alumni, getting to know people personally. And so I'm doing that, and I'm doing assessments, I'm doing all of these things. I'm learning and I'm being coached on life work balance because I'm definitely working too much.
Got it. Yeah. So, how do you look back at it all, your whole journey?
Well, as you said something wise, right? 'Cause everything that we do and everything happens for our learning. Somehow we are able to understand ourselves better. And if we understand ourselves just a little bit better, maybe we understand the universe a little bit better,
Mm.
right? It's all connected, and I think it's all a journey. And I think that looking back, of course, I would have done lots of things different, but then the result would have been somehow different as well. And who knows, it would have been better or worse. I don't go to psychics. I know that especially women like to go to have their fortune read and someone tell you, like, what should I do? And of course, I'm curious, but I never went, and I don't think I would ever really want to know because I think it's more fun to just allow the life to evolve and unfold every day, every moment at a time. And I think I can be more appreciative of it from that perspective. And looking back, it's the same thing. Whatever happened, happened. And I'm looking at all of the memories and what I did and the journey that I went through. And of course, I'm smiling because I'm seeing in my mind's eye, like a young girl. I used to have a really tight braid all the way to my knee. And I just didn't want to part with it because it was my culture. And when I finally cut it, I'm like, I'm a new person. Why didn't I do it sooner? And so I think that we do things when we are ready to do them, and we move forward when we're ready to move forward. You were asking me what actually pushed me to open up my school. So I'll tell you, I was hired by someone to consult them on possibility of having not something similar, but they wanted to coach youth. They wanted to create something generous, beneficial, and not for profit, but they just couldn't get it together. They didn't want to hire the right people. They didn't want to pay them. It just was falling apart. And I was getting a little bit abused and manipulated because I felt that I wasn't getting paid for my time either, as I was donating a lot of time. And I was meeting with this person and I was giving him ideas what to do and how to open this up and how to. I said to myself, I'm so smart. Why don't I give myself any of these ideas? What's stopping me to actually go ahead and just open up my own
Yeah.
school? Why do I have to give my ideas to someone else and wait them to do something for me when I have the same capacity, if not more, to do actually the same? And there was no reason not to. I couldn't respond to myself, but there was still this overwhelming fear
Yeah.
because it's just me. And then you just stop breathing maybe for a second. Then you remind yourself that, yeah, you can breathe. You should breathe because you want to live. And then you just do it. And then just wait and something happens. I
Yeah.
mean, my first class I only had 4 people in the class. And I said to myself, it's just not going to work. And then I did it again. And then I did it again. And now we have over 3,000 alumni.
Wow.
Considering that each class has not more than 10 people in class, it's impressive.
It is. It is. The best way to overcome that fear is by taking those small steps that move you towards your goal. It never happens overnight. It never happens like an instant. There are so many little steps that you take towards it that builds up. Would you have done anything differently?
I'd probably do everything 10 years sooner or 15. You can't force someone to develop quicker than they can. You can provide whatever insight It could be the most brilliant insight. If the person is not ready to act on it, and sometimes not even to hear it, you can stand on your ears and nothing is going to change. So there just has to come a moment of readiness when you're ready to jump and just take your next step and get it done. So I just wasn't ready until I was. One more thing I wanted to share with our listeners, because I know that a lot of people who are following you and listening to your show are probably also like us from other countries and trying to adjust. My model was always Deepak Chopra. And not because he's so incredible, but he is incredible. But I think that a lot of us feel self-conscious because of our accents. You were asking me about my accent. And in the past, everyone would ask me, I would feel so embarrassed. Oh my God, I have an accent. They probably can't understand me correctly, or I'm just making mistakes or whatever. Or just accent is, oh, you're a foreigner. There's just like something about it that I felt was degrading a little bit in my own head, of course, because they were admiring me. They were like, oh my God, she came from Russia. She's such a hero. She got out of that terrible place alive. But in my mind, it was just like a put down. I always felt very self-conscious about it. And then I don't even remember who said that to me, but I opened up to someone and they said to me, no, actually, your accent makes me listen more to you because I have to pay attention more to what you say to make sure that I understand it. I'm like, isn't it a horrible thing? And they said, no, it's actually good because it makes me slow down a little bit. It makes me listen more. It's also quite exotic. It's sexy. I'm like, sexy?
Yeah.
I like that. And they said to me, you can look at other people like Deepak Chopra. Deepak Chopra is like around forever. And even today, he has a lighter accent than he used to. He used to have a very heavy accent. He still has it. Back then, I had much heavier accent as well. Now I still have it. It's much lighter, but I still have that. But the point is that he was able to create an empire. And anyone and everyone admires him. People who were born here, they go to his lectures, they buy his books. There's no argument around that he is an authority on personal development and spirituality. And when they said it to me, I'm like, and I just thought about it. Why not compare yourself to someone who actually made it despite whatever accent, and people admire and listen to him even more? Why couldn't it be you? So this is something that I'd like to leave our audience with.
That was my closing question. And you've just answered that, to be just yourself, and that it's all in our head, what people think about us. It's our own assumptions to keep blocking us. And to recognize those and change them into something else, that is what moves us forward. Is there anything that you would like to add?
No, other than the questions that you are asking me, I would have loved to ask you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. It's been such a pleasure learning from you.
Thank you so much. Same here, Nina.
If you found your content valuable, please like, share, and subscribe. And spread the word. I feel the best compliment is being referred. That one action of yours can help us reach more people and fulfill the mission of thriving changes. Thank you for considering.